So me and Steven, we were having a conversation a little earlier after flow practice, and we were talking about like the difference between using our thoughts to make choices, to make decisions, to like analyze things, versus using our awareness. So let's dive into that. So this way we can kind of share with you what we were talking about. So we were talking about the idea of, if we were to use our thoughts, which generally I feel like a lot of people are doing, because they think it's almost like the only option, to use their thoughts to analyze a situation, analyze a person, and the information that they're able to kind of decipher in their head, then they make choices and decisions based on it, versus using their awareness, being aware of a situation, but not having to constantly think about it or have this internal dialogue, but using their awareness to be aware of a situation or to be aware of a person, and then from there getting the information through their awareness, and then deciding on that. And so let's dive in a little bit and talk about kind of what the difference is.
How would you explain awareness to somebody? Like, we know thoughts, okay, it's the words and it's the sentences that are being said in our minds, but if you were to kind of share with someone, okay, if I'm going to make my decisions based on awareness, how do I even experience that?
So I think with awareness is when our thoughts are quiet. When there's no internal dialogue in our mind, because the way I like to look at it is, our attention, wherever we put our attention, is what we become aware of. So if I'm standing here and then I'm having a lot of this internal dialogue in my mind, then my attention, it takes my attention away, because this dialogue that's in our brain is pretty loud. It's very hard to kind of avoid it. We can do our best, and I know we do it sometimes, but it's really difficult to avoid it when there is an internal voice in here that's constantly chattering.
Yeah.
So when we're using our awareness is when most of the time this internal dialogue is not talking, and now our attention can be focused on what's in front of us, on the situation, on what's happening. It's the same idea, like let's say there's a really loud music being played, let's say right now, and we are trying to have a in-depth conversation, we're trying to listen to what we're talking about, but a lot of our attention is focused on this loud-ass music back there, then it becomes really difficult to be able to become aware of what we're saying. And so that, I feel, is what awareness is. And in order to increase our awareness of what's happening in a situation, our thoughts need to be very quiet,
be a lot more quiet,
and ideally turned off. Then I think we can fully access.
So I think in general, people nowadays are starting to understand the benefit of taking some time to meditate, hopefully to actually quiet their minds. But many times it's so difficult for people to actually tune that off. Right? They might be able to quiet down a little bit, but in general, that's very difficult for most people to turn it off. Like, how would you even recommend someone to even get to that state where it's like, okay, it's like I can actually be aware now and not be so much in my mind?
So I studied into this a lot. And I remember when I used to focus on trying to turn off my mind, and there were times to where it was easier. And there were times to where no matter how hard I tried, it was just constant internal dialogue. Then I started to find that the times that my body was relaxed, it was easier for my mind to be shut off, and I became more present. But the times that my body was feeling anxious or feeling when there's like more emotions going on in my body, my mind, it was really difficult for it to be quiet. And I started to put two and two together. And over time now, I realized when our body is very, very calm and very relaxed, our mind becomes really calm and relaxed, and we don't have this kind of this stream of thoughts. The thoughts will come only when we want it to come in, but it's not like a typical person's mind to where it's like a river. It's like a constant stream of thoughts, and that's why like I find like when it comes to increasing awareness, I think the focus is on becoming calm and relaxed in the body, which then silences the mind and increases the awareness.
That makes sense. One of my teachers, he basically says he's one of 5 people that I really, really respect. He's a monk. He's actually a very interesting monk because he also owns like this huge villa, right? But besides that,
like a resort.
He owns a resort. Sorry, not a villa, a huge resort. But what he says, the reason why it's very difficult for most people to actually do sitting meditation nowadays, because it wasn't meant for this time. Most of the sitting meditation, that technique first began hundreds, thousands of years ago when people were very active. They were farmers, right? So they were always constantly moving already. Wow. So meditation sitting makes sense because now they can relax.
Yeah.
But nowadays, because we sit so much, it's very difficult to actually sit in meditation. Now the mind, we're seeing the constant craziness of the mind. So that's why in today's world, it's very important to move the body because that's what's missing.
Oh, that makes perfect sense because before there is an ability for someone to exert energy because they're so physical already. People aren't exerting enough energy when they're doing this sitting down. So that makes total sense. That reminds me of so that's the same thing with Osho that I studied. He had the same philosophy about people's bodies now are very different than they were before. And the traditional practices of yoga, meditation, breath work that were designed to help somebody relax, help somebody, be able to calm down their energies. It was designed for the bodies before when people were a lot more active. And so therefore their bodies weren't as dense. Because people nowadays, because of technology and culture, people are sitting down a lot more. So their body's a lot more stiffer, a lot more denser, and the food. So therefore, for someone to be inactive in that way doesn't make sense. And that's why if you look at like Osho meditation, there's a lot of crazy jumping, a lot of exertion, right? It's very dynamic and it's all about
embodied.
Exerting all of the energy, exerting everything for them to be able to feel into their body. That would make sense on what you're saying with the monk too.
So now I feel like that's the reason why it would be so important for if people really want to become much more aware and get out of their minds. Nowadays, the main tool is actually to get embodied inside the body, to release the tension and the stress that's happening within. That will automatically start to quiet the mind.
I think that's why people are so into fitness is because it feels really good to move the body, and there's a natural sense of relaxation that's created. But I feel that because people don't look at fitness a lot of times, I don't feel enough on having fitness to be a way to calm down their body. They look at it more for aesthetics, which is why I feel that fitness in the next 3 to 5 years is going to be the new method of spirituality, the new method of mental health. I think right now people are starting to kind of figure it out. But I feel like it's gonna be a lot more known when people start to connect the dots of what we're talking about. Because it makes total sense. And then now when they're looking at it, not so much just for aesthetics, but also for the fact to be able to exert that energy and to get their mind in a calm state by getting their body in a calm state. I think now the practices, the regimens, the styles are going to evolve. And this is why we do our flow practice in the morning. And I feel like this is I looked around and I did not see any type of training regimen that is like flow training right now, this practice. But I feel like people are going to come up with more different styles because the idea of of being able to combine building a nice body for aesthetics and also at the same time getting the body to be relaxed. So people are getting the benefits and the goals of all of it that they're looking for, you know, and not just one aspect.
There you go.
And so that's really, you know, that's really interesting. You know, I think a lot of people once they realize the idea that they need to move around more if they want to be able to silence their mind. You know, I think it'll become
second nature soon.
Yeah. So going back to what we're talking about, in order to be able to be more aware, to use more of our awareness, we need to be able to silence our mind. This way we can take our attention into the present moment. And to be able to do that, we need to get the body to be more calmer. A calm body, a relaxed body, creates a calm and relaxed mind. Now our attention is able to be available in the present moment, assessing information, and well, like situations, people, things like that. Then from there, the information that we're able to become aware of will be much, much more than if we were to try to individually think it, individually have it to be explained or analyzed through specific words and specific thoughts. And you know, that's such a powerful thing. And I think, you know, before we started this video, you were talking about how use an aspect of their awareness, or we can call it like their intuition, you know, to be able to make decisions and make choices along with their logical mind.
Yeah, it's a combination of all the different aspects. Like, yes, use the analytical mind to scan the data and see what's actually happening. But many times, okay, this is about 50%, this is about, let's say, 50%. Which way do we go? And that's based on just intuition.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think something good for you guys watching to start off with is start to focus on becoming more calm and relaxed in your body. And the way you can focus on that is simply to be aware when you're feeling tense, when you're feeling any type of like tightness or any type of strains, and trying to let it go. And by doing that, you know, it will start to relax the mind.
Let me ask you, what are like just a couple simple exercises people can do that's, let's say, even in flow training that people can do to relax the body? I'm thinking parts of part one works very well for that.
You know, so something I'd like to do is doing a tap massage. And so massage is something that's been known for most people when it comes to wanting to relax, right? They're tense, I need to get a massage. The only problem with that is people are not able to get a massage when they need it at that very moment. And they have to make a call, they have to schedule, they have to wait when it's available, they have to drive there, all these things. But with the tap massage technique that we do in flow training, all we're doing is we are simply just tapping the body. We're using a slapping, or we're using a closed fist, or you can make your hand into any type of mechanism you like. And we're simply just tapping the body to physically release the tension in areas that are tight or in areas that need more circulation. One area that I do a lot is actually here on my head. And you know, we're in our head a lot, we have all these thoughts going on. Simply doing this and taking a few deep breaths, you know, in through the nose, and just tapping here for a while. And take your time, you know. And the amount of pressure is up to you. You know, sometimes I feel like our bodies feel good and we can really tap pretty hard and it feels good. But I think sometimes in certain people or certain areas of the body, we tap hard and it hurts. You know, there's a lot of tension there. So we just go with whatever feels good. But that's such an easy technique. You can do it at any time. And you literally tap everywhere in the body that you can reach. If you can't reach it, you don't worry about it. And you know, that's a way, something that you can do all the time, anywhere. And I personally do it all the time, and sometimes the whole entire body in one session, and sometimes just certain areas.
And one thing about, like, besides tapping here to release the tension of all that mind chatter that's going on, I found that it's actually very beneficial as well for the mind, for everywhere else.
Right.
Because now the attention is not so much going on here, but feeling the sensations of the body. And this is an
right.
easy way to start being more, let's say, embodied in the body.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And from there, you start to bring more awareness into the physical aspects of ourselves, and we can start to balance out how much energy is actually being used in our minds and how much are we actually grounded in this space as well.
Yeah. All right, so try that out, guys, and start doing it. I would recommend doing it every single day, a little bit at a time. And Steven's right, if you can do your whole entire body every time, that would be great. Even if you do a little section, it's also good. But start bringing some more awareness into the body, start relaxing the body, and start to practice using your awareness and just looking at things without thinking, and see if you're able to analyze that way. Analyze by only looking at things and without having to have any type of internal judgment or internal dialogue. And over time, I think you'll be able to tap into like that muscle of intuition, that muscle of using awareness to get information, using awareness to make decisions and choices.
Cool.
All right.
Awesome.